So hello there, my name's Dane Lemaitre, and welcome to the review, and I hope you all had a really nice Christmas. I did, and I got some nice items as well, as you can see here, for Christmas. Quite pleased with these. So I also got these. Now these are Toby's museum coaches. Now earlier this year, Bachmann announced these in their catalogue, and they also announced Ryan and Daisy, as you can see here. And there's been photos on the internet of Daisy and that model, though it's not actually been released yet. But I do hope to get that, as Daisy is one of my favourite characters. And although that wasn't released this year, I did actually see Daisy's model from the TV series when I went to Drayton Manor this year, which was quite nice. Probably the next best thing. So I do look forward to when they bring the model out. And they've also announced Peter Sam, the narrow gauge engine in the 009 range, which also looks really good. There's been photos of that on the internet, on social media, and that, as you can see here. And again, as I said before, one of my favourite stories, Peter Sam, was a special funnel in the Railway series. So yeah, really look forward to that. So like I said, these are Toby's museum coaches, and to me they're basically like the branch line coaches, the red ones, that appeared in the TV series, throughout the models series, and in the CGI animated series. So these models are basically the same but repainted in a different colour, and I do think in some ways they've gone to a lot more detail on these than they did them ones, so that's really nice. And saying these first appeared in Series 9 in the episode Toby Feels Left Out, where Toby used them to take the visitors to the opening of the Sodor Museum. And Toby normally pulls his coach, Henrietta, but he pulled these ones instead, so I'm assuming these are like a Pullman type coach, because obviously the bigger engines like Gordon and James had the red coaches to pull. Gordon special coaches, as they were known. And then later on, Spencer was seen pulling them, most of the time with one, but then sometimes with two of them. And again, they appeared in the CGI animated series as well, in a lot more detail. And there was one episode where Gordon pulled them as well in the CGI, which for me was a little bit of a throwback to the model series of the show. So like I said, I'm assuming these are like a Pullman type coach, but for the small engines, because Percy was also seen pulling one of these. There was only the brake coach in the TV series, which is the one at the back. But Percy was seen pulling one to carry Alicia Botti, the famous opera singer, as well. And as I said, when it was a model series of the show, only one was seen, the brake coach. But what Bachmann's done is they've had like a composite coach, and the difference with this is, as you can see here on the back of the brake coach, there's a little compartment for the guard, and it's got windows on the back as well. So they've created an extra coach, which Bachmann probably did as a way to make more money, but at the same time, I think it makes sense, because I always think it was a bit weird seeing Toby pulling sort of one coach. Although saying that, I have obviously filmed trains coming through on the main line with just their one single coach before, so it's not entirely unusual, I guess. But also, these coaches, what they're based upon, were originally built in Brighton. And when I went to Kenton East Sussex Railway, which was over that way, I saw a lot of coaches like this. And again, Kenton East Sussex Railway is a really nice railway. And a friend of mine called Joe, whose channel is Joe Like Railway, that I've mentioned in some of my other videos, he sort of introduced me to that. So obviously quite a big thank you to him. And I'll speak to him and see him quite a lot at rail shows, sometimes unexpectedly. Also, I went to the Bluebell Railway, where I got to see Stepney and a few other characters that were obviously mentioned in the Railway series as well, when I was up that way. And obviously I was talking about Pullman coaches. This year I went to the gala in September at the North Yorkshire Moors Railway, the steam gala, and they were doing a top and tail service with a steam engine and diesel on the back between Whitby and Gromont Station. And I actually got to ride in the Pullman coaches at no extra cost. There was no buffet, unfortunately, but I got a cup of tea, so I was quite happy. But that was because some of their other rolling stock got damaged. So, like I said, I got to travel in the one called Robin, which was actually coupled behind Eric Tracy's steam engine between Whitby and Gromont both ways, which was quite nice for me. And had a nice time. And I mean, this year I've been quite lucky, if you look over my other videos, to see a lot of different engines running. And I've had a run of this. And I've had a run of it with Bachmann Toby, and also Percy as well, because Percy pulled them as well. So one of them in one of the learn segments. And also, I used my Hornby Toby, and as you've probably seen in my other videos, I do have both a Hornby Toby and a Bachmann one, and I do prefer the Bachmann one size-wise, because the problem with the Hornby Toby was it was far too tall, and I mean, I had a very basic layout. Unfortunately, I haven't got the photos on me at the moment, but I had a very basic layout with a platform and a shed and that, and the Hornby Toby, you had problems getting in and out because of how tall it was, whereas the Bachmann one, you don't get any of them issues. Another thing I done was as well, I attached Henrietta to the train as well to make it a little bit longer. But Toby on his own pulling looks quite nice. And something else I noticed as well was, if you put Toby next to these, he is a lot taller. His Hornby model is. But also, if you put the Bachmann one next to it, it's still a tiny little bit taller, but not as noticeable. However, in my opinion, Toby's Hornby model, his face looked very similar to what it looked like from Thomas and the Magic Railroad onwards, whereas the Bachmann one also looks like what Toby's face looked like in the TV series, but a different face mask that Toby had. And as well, to say, Toby's got a coach called Henrietta, and even when I was younger, I used to think it was strange he would just pull in one coach, really, although sometimes Henrietta had trucks behind her as well. But also, in Thomas and Victoria, which was one of the later books, he was given another coach called Victoria to pull as well, making his train a bit longer. So like I said, it is nice that you can make it, if you can, in my opinion, make it a bit longer, but it does run really, really nicely as well. And again, it's funny really, because Henrietta never used to have a face on her. She did in one of the Railway series illustrations later on, before she became one in the CGI animated series of the show. So the Bachmann models of Henrietta's a little bit out now compared to what it is. Toby looked different in the Railway series as well, because he had blue side plates, whereas they were grey in the TV series. But as I was saying earlier, I do think the detail on this model, so these models, all these coaches, are absolutely superb. Something else I did notice as well is just around there is some sort of like gold lining. And again, if you do watch because I did sort of have to find myself watching the episodes again, really, to compare it. But if you do look in the episodes, you can see that sort of gold lining around it. But at the same time, even if it wasn't in the TV series, I think that it's a good add-on as well. As I said before, there's been models like Spencer in Hornby. Although not all the colours were correct, I actually really liked how they'd done the model personally. But like I said, that was my personal opinion. So I did prefer the Hornby one. But like I said, I think Bachmann have done a great job. And another thing with Bachmann is, as I said before, I feel like that with a lot of their sort of later models, they're sort of aiming the models to what they look like in the CGI animated series, which to me, is, I suppose they have to because it's the more current series. But obviously they've brought these out, and these were never in the CGI animated series. Like I said, they were only in the model series. But for me, that says that, you know, Bachmann sort of listened to fans, and it's nice to have something from that era, you know, that they've actually brought out, in my opinion. But as like I said, I'm looking forward to when they bring Peter Sam out. Like I said, in my opinion, he's a classic character as well. And like I said, that does look like what Peter Sam looks like in the CGI animated series. But at the same time, I don't think that's entirely a bad thing, because like I said, he is a lot more detailed, and like he looks like in real life, his basis. So I think that's a good thing. Like I said, it's nice. I think it's nice they brought these out, because it's something from the model era of the show. And I do think these coaches look really, really nice as well. And they do run really, really nicely. In general, I don't tend to have any issues with rolling stock. The only one I've ever really had issues is Emily's coaches. They've got 6 wheels, and the 2 middle wheels and one of the coaches I once got kept on coming out for some reason. But I've run them several times since then, and I've not had that issue, which is a good thing. And as you look at the packaging here, I think the packaging is okay, but along the top of it, it says rolling stock, and in my opinion, it'd be nice if they called it Toby's Museum Coach, because like if I was getting someone to buy that for me, they wouldn't necessarily know what it was, though there is a little sticker on the back that says what it is. But I think it'd be nice, because like I say, when you buy the engines on the front of them, it says the name of the engine, so I don't see why it doesn't say the name of the rolling stock where they've just put rolling stock, personally. But I suppose really that's my only sort of criticism with the model. But like I said, I think I'd happily give these coaches a 10 out of 10, because they're absolutely superb. And like I said, this one didn't even exist, the normal coach. Like I said, it was only the brake coach. But I think that having the normal coach is a really good add-on. I recommend that you get these if you can. Like I said, I've had a lot of fun having a little play with them, I guess. And like I said, they go very well with Toby as well. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.